For 4 generations, the Ward family has been serving families with care and integrity. William John Ward purchased the business in 1914 and served the small rural community of Weston. In 1938, his youngest son, William John, known as Bill, continued to operate the funeral home alongside his sons, William John, or Jack, who joined him in 1959, and Alan, who joined him in 1961, and took over the business upon their father's passing in 1968. Jack's son, William John, or John, and Alan's son, Cameron, joined the family business as the 4th generation in 1991 and 1993, respectively. The values of listening, being trusted, and helping people to honor the memories of their loved ones have been at the heart of this family business for over a century.
When Father died and everything else, you realize that the trust that people have to have in you when they make that first call, when someone's passed away in their family, because in funeral service you only have one shot to do it, and you have to do it right, and you can't just do it over again. And so that I think if a family lose somebody and they know the funeral home director, it's easy for them to make the call because they know who they're dealing with. But I think for a family that has no relationship with a funeral home, it is a big decision to make when they make that call, to turn the trust over to the funeral director, because it's got to be done right.
The 3rd generation of the Ward family oversaw the expansion of the business throughout the 1970s and 80s. With years of experience serving the Weston community and providing meaningful, affordable services, the commitment to providing this level of service to other surrounding communities was a natural choice. The David A. McClure Funeral Home was purchased in 1972. Known as the beautiful White House on the Hill, this heritage building has been home to many services over the years. The Russell Morden Funeral Home was acquired in 1979. Mr. Bill Russell continued to work at the funeral home until his retirement in the late 1980s. Renovations to the current building were completed 18 years ago, making it a modern and easily accessible location off Lakeshore Road. The Wards purchased property in 1988, the former residence of the Graham family of Woodbridge. With the contributions and assistance of investors within the Woodbridge community, the Ward Damiani Funeral Home opened in 1995, featuring a magnificent chapel and ravine view reception center. In 2002, the Ward family took over sole ownership of the funeral home.
It's 100 years this year that I look at other businesses, and they say, well, we're other funeral homes we've been in business 125 years. There are very few businesses, funeral businesses, that are in the same family. The business might be going the same for that long, but the Wards have owned this business for 100 years.
The biggest thing is listening, because of the fact is that they want to tell you the story about who they lost. That's very important to them, and you have to listen to that and then arrange the funeral around the wishes that they want, and not tell them what they have to do, but do what they want.
Today, the 4th generation of the Ward family is actively involved in the day-to-day operation of the funeral home. Cousins John and Cameron Ward are passionate about the founding values of integrity and listening to families.
It's really tough. You sit down and you deal with the grieving wife, and she's lost her spouse of 45 years, and she doesn't know what to do. You sit down, you take them through the arrangements, and there's tears, there's some laughter, some stories shared. But the joy for me comes 3 days after the service. It's when they come back into the building and they're looking for some more thank you cards, looking to pick up some documentation, and she walks in the front door and she sees you, and the first thing she does is walks over and gives you a big hug and says thank you. We deal with a lot of very difficult times, but when you get that person that comes in 3 days after the service that doesn't know how they could have gotten through it without you, it's pretty rewarding.
I would hope, with the 100 years, I would hope that with experience there's expertise. ideally, I think when we spoke about creating a change in the business and creating our, whether it be our logo or our message, integrity kind of truly does stand out, and that's kind of what we truly believe is integrity in what we do and how we treat families. And every family that walks in that door needs to know with confidence that they're treated exactly the same as that next family, regardless of their position in life or their religion. That's one thing that I think has been taught by our dads, that treat everybody with the same respect, treat them the same as you'd expect to be treated. And I think that's how we've kind of built our business. It makes no difference who you are and what you are. And I take that to heart.
I want the family to walk out and feel that they can hold their head high and they were treated properly and fairly. And that's what really makes important. That's what's important to me. Families have to come first.
Cousins John and Cameron Ward and their team of caring, dedicated professionals are committed to continually innovating in order to provide exceptional service and value to families at Ward Funeral Homes for years to come.
I can't tell you how often families say to me, the funeral preparation, the time around my mom or dad's death was just a blur. It's just a blur. And it was because in those 2 and 3 days, they were so caught up in details and making decisions and having to plan this and look after that. And that's what the funeral home does. So what we do is we listen, we observe, we take what they're telling us, and then we care enough to look after that. Because it's always bothered me for families that they're sitting focusing on details when they should be focusing on the memories and sitting around together as a family and talking about who they lost. And it's just, it doesn't work. So that gives me hope, because that's what funeral service professionals give. And we offer that convenience of service that there's not anybody else that knows how to do. And certainly for families to try and do that on their own, the weight of the world ends up being on their shoulders, and it's not healthy. So that's our role, and I honestly think that we will always have and should always carry that role.